So we're at the end of the year, and I want to walk through kind of a mini training. But this is actually anytime you're doing planning or anytime you're feeling stuck and you can't quite figure out why, this is going to be a great training to come back to because what I'm going to go over is something that I first presented to uh, the ITLN, which is the Institute for Transformational Leadership alumni conference at Georgetown. And at the time, I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, this is so negative, and I'm listing all these errors, and I'm going to make people feel bad. But what absolutely astonished me is that it was kind of like wall to wall aha moments. So I'm going to share that with you today, and hopefully that will help you find those things that are getting in your way of reaching your goals that maybe are hard to quantify because they are just outside of visibility for you. There's those invisible obstacles. All right, so I am going to share, and I don't know about you, but when I am planning and trying to figure out where to go next, I am very impatient. I've got this come on inner peace. I don't have all day kind of feeling to it. So when you're planning and looking for those invisible obstacles, one of the things I recommend very first is brainstorm, what do you know is impacting your results? Do you know that your closing ratio is down, the market is down, your market has shifted, whatever it is, write it all down. And if there's anything that feels shaky, that feels negative, just go there. Go there, be negative, don't paint sunshine over this, don't silver lining it. Just get the reality of what you know is going on right now. You can get all reasonable and objective later. Right now, what do you know is impacting your results? You want that out of your head on paper instead of just running in the background. All right, but let me go through these invisible obstacles. These are very common invisible obstacles. So the first one is reactive versus proactive. And one reactive move I see people making is like lowering their prices or developing lower cost options like digital products. But if you have the underlying issue of, say, not having enough leads, then creating a new product is not the strategy, it's not a proactive strategy to solve the actual problem. So the reaction causes you to solve the wrong problem. All right, so that's number one. Second one is peaked early. And this is the one I probably talk to at least 5 people a week right now who said they came out of their former career, whether it's corporate or academia or ministry, no matter what it is, they came into their coaching business and the new business, it sustained them. They just kind of came out of their last career and they didn't really know how the business came to them, but the referrals were coming in without any real effort on their part. Well, that's fine in a great economy. You can get away with that for a while, but the problem is when you peak early and then you hit a more normal or down economy, you realize you're 1, 2, 3. I've talked to people who are 20 years down the road in their businesses and they realize they've never developed the skill set for client generation. So it can be even more puzzling than coming out of your business right away and not knowing how to grow a clientele. Getting 3, 4 years down the road and not knowing it when you had already 3, 4 years of success, it's very confusing. So that's another invisible obstacle. You can peak early. You invested to learn a strategy you ended up hating. And this just gets you into a little bit of a hamster wheel because it's like, I invested in this, I should do it, but I hate it, so I'm not doing it, but I invested in it, so I should do it. And it keeps you from exploring other things and it keeps you paralyzed. So in this case, I usually say, ditch your sunk cost, move on, forgive yourself. I've invested so much money on things that didn't work and you just have to leave them behind or you're going to stay exactly where you are right now. Depending on subcontracting, this is often used in the early days to accumulate hours to get your ACC. And the problem is that it becomes a crutch. And you just subcontract, and you think since you have clients, it's helping you with client generation. But again, since you're not learning the skill set of client generation, it's just keeping you from learning and keeping you from getting your own clients and keeping you from getting paid what you should be getting paid for your services. Creating programs without a plan to fill them. I see this a lot. This is probably one of the most important entrepreneurial skills I ever learned, which was to create, some people call it a minimum viable product. I just call it, bullet points. Like, here are the 3 things you're going to get out of the program. Like, here are the results. Here are the people it's for, that description. And like, here's how much we're going to meet. Create a program and then go out and get interest. Because if you create the workbooks and the PDFs and the online platforms and everything, but you haven't tested the market to see if anybody wants it, it's going to be a lot of wasted time. Long sales cycle strategies only. I met someone recently and they invested in a couple of strategies. One was government contracting, the other was keynote speaking. Both great options, both probably very credible programs that she invested in, but she didn't invest in anything else. Government contracting, usually 1 year minimum, more likely 2 years before you really start to see income from it. Keynote speaking, same kind of thing, long sales cycles. You've got to make sure you've got some strategies in there that bring income in faster. Negative assumptions about sales, marketing, and money. I cannot tell you the number of conversations I have with people who are like, well, I would like to have more clients, but I hate being pushy. And there's this misunderstanding, this connection or definition in the mind that to be good at sales, you have to be pushy. And I understand, because if the options are be pushy or do nothing, then absolutely do nothing. But guess what? There's a lot of area in between where you can be of service. You can put yourself out there in a very strategic way, a very genuine way, and attract clients. So check your assumptions, question your assumptions. Ooh, putting all your eggs in one basket. I hear this one a lot, where people are like, okay, I'm preparing for a conference, I'm speaking there, and it's gonna be great, and it's my ideal client, and I'm like, okay, what do you have before and after that? And there's nothing. It's just like, no, this is the one thing. And it's like the first big event they're doing. And guess what? When in your first event as a business owner, or even, in your second or third year, when you have one big thing that you are depending on, and you're in your early days of business, you're still learning, and you can strategize and you can dial everything in and get the right materials and get the right call to action and everything. And at the same time, so many things can go sideways. We can have a weather event, you could have illness, there's so many things that could happen, or it just won't perform as well. And a lot of that is not under your control. So making sure that there's never a all eggs in one basket, like, I've got this one thing, it's going to serve me with everything. You got to diversify. All right, putting creativity in charge of strategy. Now we want to nurture your creativity. We want to focus and channel your creativity. You never want to abandon it. However, when creativity is put in charge of the strategy of like client generation, often what that leads to is creating this thing, then that thing, then the other thing, on and on and on. And so nothing ever gets traction. You're always at the starting line. You got to give creativity a job. It is not strategy. Focusing on visibility instead of lead generation. This is probably the most prevalent thing I see, is because we are on LinkedIn, we see this kind of LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook, all the things. We see that all the time. It's in our faces all the time. We end up saying, oh, well, that's what people are doing, that must be working. That's what people are doing, that must be working. And we just get in this spin cycle. The fact is that coaches do not get clients from social media 98% of the time. I will say, and that's United States, Canada, other countries, other cultures might be a little bit different. Always the number one rule of client generation is dig deeper into what's working. So for my market, my people, coaches don't get clients from social media. It's through relationships. The problem is that, one, it doesn't feel like building relationships can be systematic. And number two, you don't have any you can't see it happening. All we see is social media. So we think that must be the way people do it. It is not. Visibility is being out there. Lead generation is putting yourself in your ideal client's path in a way that provides value and curiosity and creates interest. This is a huge one. Thinking client generation should just come naturally. I see this all the time with people I talk to about potentially working together. I'll say, well, what are your ideas about how you could attract clients? And here's what I see them do. They think about it, and then they kind of shift their focus in their mind over to this area where they would like to access all of their knowledge about client generation. And they find they've got, like, 3 pieces of paper and a paper clip in there. So it's not, they don't have the skill set yet. And so instead they go, oh, well, I think I'll do this. And they go back to what they used to do, whether it's academia, marketing, corporate, anything like that. And they start digging from that file. And the problem is that that is not applicable to an entrepreneurial venture. So thinking it should come naturally, we make this twist in thinking instead of getting client generation as a skill set and going acquiring that skill set. What happens is when we find that bucket empty, you end up spending more time, a lot of money on assessments and certifications. A lot of times I talk to people and they're like, I just invested in this or that, and it's skill building in coaching and skill building in assessments, which absolutely do that. But if you don't have the clients to serve with these certifications and assessments, are you going at your education? Are you investing in your education in the right order? All right. So that's my list. I know at this point, I always, like when I was presenting for the first time for Georgetown, I just felt like, oh my gosh, so negative, so negative, so negative. But what I do know is you can't solve a problem you can't see. So my hope is that this has brought to light some things that might help you move forward in a positive way, be more intentional, more specific, more deliberate. And of course, if you ever want to learn that skill set of client generation, you don't want to piecemeal it all together on your own, please visit my website. I do a monthly workshop and it's free to introduce you to this idea of client generation. And we have programs that teach it so that you don't have to do it alone. So I invite you to come to the Simply Get Client School, and we're happy to serve you. And if not, please let other people know about this video. I think it would be helpful, and we always appreciate referrals. Best of luck to you and your business.